The NFL season is inching closer and closer. The Eagles hoping to run it back in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs looking for a bounce-back season as well. Those are the teams that we know about, right? The contenders. But what about the pretenders? Taking a look at the odds to miss the NFL playoffs. Are you surprised to see the Vikings at the top there? There you see their odds to make the postseason, plus 104, to miss it, minus 128. There's a lot of pressure riding on the back of their second-year quarterback. J.J. McCarthy has yet to take a true NFL snap. The Dolphins as well on this list. Seems like they're trying to force a rebuild down in SoFlo. The Bengals as well. A lot of things to dive into. So let's do so with our czar of the playbook. We've got CBS Sports football analyst Emory Hunt joining the program, looking at the top 5 teams, Emory, that could be flops in 2025. So let's pick up the conversation with the number 5 team on this list. They were a big surprise last year, the Minnesota Vikings. Sam Darnold and a tough Vikings defense led them to the postseason before things kind of fizzled out. We won't talk about those final weeks, Emory, but now it all lays at J.J. McCarthy's feet. What concerns you about this team when it comes to the postseason?
Yeah, you're talking about a panic meter, Haley, from like 5 being the least concerned to 1 being the most concerned. So this is a 5 for Minnesota. This is kind of like getting halfway through your journey and that gas light comes on. Now you got to decide whether or not I got to pull over or how far is that next rest stop, right? So not as concerned for Minnesota. The biggest concern you laid out perfectly was J.J. McCarthy, right? And it's about the continuity. And does things change with a new quarterback under center? Yes, there's some questions along the defensive side of the football in terms of the cornerback position. They do bring in Isaiah Rodgers. They go and sign Jeff Okudah. But how can those guys get up to speed and be ready to go? I don't have a problem about their run game. I don't have a problem about their receiving core. We know their defensive front 7 will be able to get after the quarterback and be active. But this is a 5 for me for Minnesota based off those reasons. And again, the division as a whole got better, so that's always a part of the equation as well.
I feel personally attacked because I am the queen of like making the choice to ride out my gas tank until the wheels fall off. I'm not pulling over if I don't have to, so I'm with the Vikings there. We'll just take it as it comes. If we move on to number 4 on your list, Emory, we find the Miami Dolphins. I think it's safe to say that the Mike McDaniel experience has been cute, it's been fun, but Fins fans are getting a little fed up. We had that whole spiel a year ago where they did everything at the number 24 because that was the playoff drought, that they haven't picked up a win in the postseason. And now that looks like it's going to be 25 given what we've seen in the offseason, right? It just seems like they're trying to rebuild in Miami when they don't need to. So you have them here at number 4, the panic a little bit higher than what it is with the Vikings.
Yeah, and the reason why, and again, this is panic level number 4. So this is like getting ready to go on an international flight. You get to the airport, and guess what you don't have? Your passport. Panic level elevated, but, you know, not as significant because if you didn't want to go, now you have an excuse not to go, right? So here's the thing. With Miami and them being right here at number 4, you talked about it. Mike McDaniel, we know how much he wants to really get this offense going and be this offensive guru and genius, but I love what they did this offseason. A lot of people questioned their toughness, right? So they went out and got tougher in the draft. They got tougher in free agency to try to improve on that. The concern here is you have the Jalen Ramsey thing hanging over your heads. Is he going to be on the team? Is he going to get traded to a West Coast team? How are they going to find someone to step in and replace what he brought to the table at cornerback? And when you combine that with the division getting better, and can these guys finish in December? Can they tough out these games on the back end with the improved division? The Patriots defense should be stellar. The Jets should be a team to be one to keep an eye on. We know what Buffalo brings to the table. So that's why right now I'm still a little bit concerned about Miami more so than Minnesota because of those reasons.
Yeah, still no word on a Jalen Ramsey trade, although it all but seems like we're just waiting to see where he goes and when he goes. So we've got gas on E is the 5th tier there. We've got forgetting your passport for an international flight at number 4. I can't wait to hear what number 3 is here because that's where we find the Bengals, who, Emory, it just seems like they love playing with house money in this way. The last few seasons, they've gotten off to a slow start, and then they try to have this triumphant win, this triumphant race to the end. It has not panned out this year. So give us your euphemism for number 3. Where's the panic meter at here for Cincy?
Your air condition breaks on a hot day. That would be number 1 in some cases, but right now
here in South Florida, that's number 1.
That's right. Listen, and if you're the Bengals, they do this all the time. Just fix the air conditioner, so therefore you don't have to worry about it, right? Get a new one. And so with them, it's, hey, we're going to push this Jamar Chase and T. Higgins thing to the brink. Oh, we got these guys re-signed. We're going to wait until this Joe Burrow thing goes to the brink. Oh, we're going to get Joe Burrow re-signed. Now you have this whole thing going on with Shamar Stewart, your first-round pick, and Trey Hendrickson, your best defensive pass rusher. Those two guys could help transform this defense. Now, if we still have this concern going into the season and they don't get a deal done with either one of these guys, now you're bringing last year's problem into this year's problem, and in this year's season, with the defense not being able to stop anybody, because you're going to be able to score points. You're going to be able to, push the pace on offense. You got those guys taken care of, but you got to stop folks, especially in this division of Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Now, we don't know what we're going to get out of Cleveland, but, man, you look at the rest of the AFC, and you rank them by defense, where would you put the Bengals? I think this is a big concern for Cincinnati, because you have to close out games. That's your pass rush, and you have to really get guys off the spot with this mobile quarterback era that we're in. That's Trey Hendrickson. So you have to really get those guys lined up, ready to go, locked in with this defense so you can build that continuity. This is why this is a level 3, no AC in the hot summer for Cincinnati.
They just don't make it easy, the Bengals, do they? A year ago, It was the wide receiver room, and if they were going to sign Jamar Chase to an extension, and now we're looking at the defense, they can't get that sorted out, and they come in at number 3 on your panic meter list here. If we go to number 2, we find San Francisco. Emory, we know that injuries plagued them last year. They just weren't the team that they wanted to be, but then they followed that up with a mass exodus on the roster in the offseason. They overhauled it all to make room for Mr. No longer irrelevant in Brock Purdy, right? He signed that 5-year, $265 million deal. But the questions about whether or not he's going to live up to the hype sort of swirling there. You put them at number 2. What's the example and why the concern?
You're motivated, Haley. You pull up to the gym, and guess what you don't have? Your headphones, your earbuds.
Ooh.
That is, listen, I would rather burn up on a hot day than leave my headphones at home when I go to the gym, because I will not go into a gym raw ear,
Never.
trying to just get a workout, and never, right? So for this being the case for San Francisco, there's no concern about Brock Purdy. I honestly think Brock Purdy, in the first part of the season, before everything went to you-know-what, he was playing his best ball. And so I expect him to play his best ball once again. What the concerns are for me for San Francisco is, you talked about some of those moving pieces around the roster. The wide receivers are still a concern, right, in terms of who's going to be healthy, who's going to be out there, who can you go to. Jawan Jennings is the one lone guy you could kind of trust week in, week out. We know about George Kittle and whatnot, but everywhere else you have some slight questions about what they can potentially bring to the table. The defensive line, you bring in Michael Williams, who was my number 1 3-4 defensive end out of Georgia. You also double down on defensive line in the draft, but can they get up to speed quickly and bring to the table what you have on the other side with Bosa and those guys, right? Then you also look at the offensive line. Some moving pieces around there, so that could affect what you see offensively. But I think the biggest thing here, Haley, is the mystique of San Francisco is gone. You look at that division, the Rams are the Rams. We know Sean McVay tends to be in the back pocket of Kyle Shanahan. You look at what Seattle has done this offseason and what the Cardinals look like on paper. And I feel like people don't fear San Francisco anymore. And if that mystique is gone, you have a huge problem on your hands, leaving your headphones at home when you're trying to go get a good workout in.
Okay, no headphones at the gym. I'm not going to lie, that takes it for me. I'm not working out without headphones. I'm not listening to the pop playlist that's rolling at LA Fitness. I'm not doing it, so don't ask me. Number 1, I'm very interested to see what the metric is here. We find the Detroit Lions. Emory, typically this wouldn't be a surprise if this was like 5-6 years ago, because that's where we were used to seeing them. But then Dan Campbell came in and changed our whole perspective of how we think of Detroit football. The problem is they lost their coordinators. They lost a lot of key pieces on both offense and defense. You're concerned here, level 1, what is it and why?
And here's the reason why. You're in the airport and you're feeling yourself. You had a good meeting or whatnot. You're about to fly back home. It's a cross-country trip, right? You're at this restaurant with this nice glossy menu with pictures. And you say, you know what? I'm going to have the shrimp scampi with Alfredo sauce on top. And I'm going to wash it down with a nice cold scoop of ice cream on top of that brownie. But here's the thing. Now you just get right by Scranton and now you got motion in your stomach. Now you got a problem, right? Do you sit tight until 4.5 hours later till you're across the country, or do you tough it out and say, you know what, I'm going to break the seal and everyone on this plane is going to suffer?
This is a level 1 emergency.
That is a level 1 emergency. And the reason why the Lions find themselves at a level 1, no OC or new OC, new DC. That's the whole makeup of what we saw Detroit and rise to this prominence that they are right now. They had the OC and Ben Johnson, who's now with your division rival in Chicago. You had the DC and Aaron Glenn, who's now with the New York Jets. So now you're replacing those two guys. I know Calvin Shepard has been there. He's been in the building. He's been a good voice for those guys on defense, but now he's in the big boy chair. And also when you look at the roster, the offensive line is going to be a little bit kind of reshuffled a little bit, and those things can concern you. We know they dealt with some injuries on defense. Have they gotten better in that regard? How healthy will Aiden Hutchinson be coming back? So with those questions, and when you think about the Chicago Bears and what they did this offseason and what they had on the roster already and improving on that, and you look at Green Bay and you look at Minnesota and what they can do defensively and running the football and with their receiving core, there's a significant danger right now in Detroit. Not saying they're going to have a losing season, but, man, when you talk about just rubber stamping Detroit being the #1 team in the NFC North, that's not the case now. And how can you replace that leadership and those voices is going to be what to watch for in the Motor City this year.
Certainly a dangerous situation to be in if you were the Detroit Lions. I hope no one has to experience that anytime soon. Emory, always a pleasure, my guy. We need more of Emory's panic meter when it comes to all sports, not just the NFL. But here are the metrics when it comes to our czar of the playbook. Vikings checking in at #5. It's chill. It's when your gas light comes on. You're forced to make a choice. The Dolphins, this one scares me a little bit here, forgetting your passport at the airport. You can't get on an international flight without your passport there. Dolphins going to Madrid later this year, so can't forget your passport, Fins fans. Obviously, though, #1 takes the cake. That's a tough choice to make if you are anyone taking a flight. More of Emory Hunt and our awesome NFL analyst can be found right here on CBS Sports HQ. The NFL will be here before you know it and make us your home for all things news, highlights, scores, ranking lists with funny euphemisms, all the things. It's right here for free.